Welcome. Hypothesis testing. Statistical hypotheses. The null hypothesis, denoted by HO, is a statement that there is no significant difference between the population parameter and the value that is being claimed. It is a hypothesis to be tested. The alternative hypothesis, denoted by HA, is a statement saying that there is a significant difference between the population parameter and the value that is being claimed. This is a statement that will be true once the null hypothesis is rejected. Example 1. The manager of a TV station claims that the mean number of people watching their new sitcom in Manila is 500,000 each day. A student researcher who wants statistical evidence on this claim conducted her own survey. Her survey resulted to a mean of 499,995. Using a 0.05 significance level, can it be concluded that the mean number of people watching the new sitcom is less than 500,000? The following are the null and the alternative hypotheses. A. HO, microsine equals 500,000. B. H alpha, microsine less than 500,000. Rejection region, critical value, and level of significance. The researcher should follow some steps and rules to help him/her decide whether or not to reject the null hypothesis. Is there a difference between the mean and the population mean? If there is, how significant is the difference between the mean and the population mean? These are some of the questions he/she should consider before making a decision. The researcher needs to convert the sample mean to a value called test statistic. This value would help him/her make a decision and draw a conclusion. He/she should establish a rejection region. Separating the two regions is a point called the critical value, which is derived from the level of significance. If the test statistic or computed value falls in the rejection region, that is, it falls beyond the critical point, then the null hypothesis is rejected. The level of significance, alpha, corresponds to the rejection region, and the difference of 1 and alpha, 1-alpha, corresponds to the area of the curve occupied by the non-rejection region. The most commonly used values for alpha are 0.01, 0.05, and 0.10. Types of errors. Type 1 error. A type 1 error is committed when the researcher rejects a null hypothesis when in fact it is true. The probability of committing type 1 error is called level of significance. For 90% confidence level, the level of significance or the value of alpha is 0.1. This means that there is 1% probability that the researcher will reject a true null hypothesis. For a 99% confidence level, the level of significance is 0.01. This means that there is a 1% probability that the researcher rejects null hypothesis that is true. But if the researcher rejects the null hypothesis that is false, then he has reached a correct decision. Alpha is used to represent the probability of a type 1 error. Type 2 error. A type 2 error is committed when the researcher fails to reject a null hypothesis that is false. But if the researcher fails to reject a true hypothesis, then there is no error committed. Beta is used to represent the probability of a type 2 error. Decision: reject the null hypothesis. HO, true state of nature. The null hypothesis is true. Type 1 error. The null hypothesis is false. Correct decision. Decision: accept the null hypothesis. HO, the null hypothesis is true. Correct decision. The null hypothesis is false. Type 2 error. One-tailed and two-tailed tests. 1. One-tailed test. In a one-tailed test, the alternative hypothesis is of the form microsine greater than C, microsine less than C, P greater than PO or P less than PO. The rejection region is on one side of distribution. It is either on the left or on the right tail of the curve depending on how the alternative hypothesis is stated. If the hypothesis contains the greater than symbol, then the rejection region is on the right tail of the curve. If the hypothesis contains the less than symbol, then the rejection region is on the left tail of the curve. A one-tailed test is directional. The total area of alpha which corresponds to the rejection region is placed on one tail only. One-tailed test. With less than symbol, One-tailed test. With greater than symbol, Two-tailed test. In a two-tailed, the rejection region is on both sides of the curve. If the alternative hypothesis contains the inequality not equal to symbol, then the test is two-tailed test is non-directional. Alpha which corresponds to the rejection region is divided equally between the two tails. Two-tailed test. Contains not equal to